Hello, MotoAmerica fans, and welcome to the latest edition of Off Track with Carruthers and Bice. I am Bice. Carruthers is on the other side. We are here at the lovely Pittsburgh International Race Complex. We're outside. It's a beautiful weekend here, a little late in the day on Friday, and we're up on the timing and scoring pit floor of the this facility we're in. And we're with Kaleb De Keyrel, one of our Twins Cup riders, who has a fairly long history in our series. And has really been doing well now that he's been on a Twins bike. He races a Yamaha. It's an FZ07/MT07, but I think it's actually an MT07, isn't it, Kaleb? Yeah. Kaleb, thanks for being on with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're excited about it. You know, it's funny. Last year, one of the things I want to start with is that, last year I remember you were at Laguna Seca, and we'll talk about your relationship with Garrett Gerloff, but Garrett Gerloff had an amazing Laguna Seca too, and you did too. You had that win, and it kind of started you on a little bit of a roll. Let's start by talking about.
He rolled right into a broken femur.
Well, but he won that race, and then it led into this season, which we'll get into this season. But I want to start out by talking about that weekend and what your expectations were going into that weekend.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was kind of crazy. I mean, I had been training really hard for like the past 3 years with Garrett at the go-kart track and motocross, but I never really got an opportunity to get back out here and really kind of show how hard I've been training and working with Garrett. And so Laguna was kind of my opportunity to kind of prove to people that I could be up front and win races in this class and on that bike. But yeah, it was kind of crazy because, I mean, the only time I had ever been on an MT07 was out here, actually. We did an endurance race, 4-hour endurance race, and I kind of just got on the bike and it clicked right away, and I felt really good. And we showed up to Laguna Seca, and they basically just put my bike together like 5 days before Laguna. And I mean, they were basically the whole season, they were wanting to get me out there. And then finally we got everything, all our ducks in a row for Laguna, and never ridden the bike before. They had just put it together. We didn't really know setup or anything, and actually had a horrible qualified like 12th, and just slowly figured the bike out more and more that weekend and got it a little bit better, and working with the team and figuring out different tire options and stuff like that, and had a really good race. I battled through the pack and ended up getting a win. So it ended up working out really well, but I didn't really have a whole lot of expectation coming in just because I had never ridden the bike before. I hadn't ridden Laguna since 2015. So there's, learning curve there, the corkscrew and everything. I mean, I had ridden it before, but I had basically forgotten all of it. So but yeah, awesome weekend. And my buddy Garrett Gerloff, I'm sure you guys know who that is. He's been on the show, I think.
Never heard of him. Yeah, I think we've had him on a couple times.
But yeah, so we had been training a lot together, and just in Texas. I live and train in Texas right now, and we had moved down there about 5 minutes from him. So he lives right down the road, and we had trained a lot together, and had known each other, and so he was kind of pumped that I was finally getting back into the MotoAmerica scene, and that we kind of traveled up there. We met up in California before that race, and we're kind of hanging out and stuff. And yeah, I mean, dream weekend for both of us. He got his first Superbike win, and I got my first ever MotoAmerica win, and everything's been just going really good. I mean, we're really close on motocross bikes, and he's a little bit better than me at the go-kart track, and he's a really good cyclist and just a really good person to be training with and help me to up my level. And I keep him honest on the motocross track, so we're always trying to beat each other, and I think that's why it makes such a good friend. It's really a friendship, and we just ride and train together in Texas. But yeah, it's been awesome having him, there at Laguna. We were in the motorhome. I could just qualified 12th, and I was way down on the list. And he's like, "Dude, what are you doing? You suck. What is wrong? We've been working way too hard to get 12th." Right. And he threw the paper, and we got it on our YouTube channel. We actually we do a YouTube channel of all the rounds, so we can give a behind the scenes look. KD51. If you guys want to check that out. But yeah, on the YouTube channel, he's just "Dude, what are you doing?"
Was he doing a bit, or was he serious?
He was serious. And the camera was just rolling. He's "Dude, what are you doing?" And I'm just like, oh, come on, man, the camera's out. Like, you got to be like that, you know? But,
That
yeah.
sounds like Garrett.
Yeah, it does.
But yeah, and so I, you know, he's really pushed me and really helped me mentally, I think, just prepare myself for race weekends and have a good attitude and about things. And, you know, I think most people who have been around Garrett, he's very positive and yeah, just an overall great guy. So I'm trying to learn as much as I can from him, and he's having a really good season in World Superbike. I'm having a really good season here. So yeah, just trying to do what we can and keep improving and keep getting better and better every time we're on the track. So
What's the age difference between you two?
I'm 23, and I believe he just turned 25.
Yeah, that's right.
His birthday was just a couple days ago.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So
yeah, August 1st.
Yeah.
Was yeah.
So I mean, growing up, it's a funny story. I actually, when I was little, Garrett was like, I think it was Garrett and Jake Lewis. They were like the two big names on the Milwaukees.
Yep.
And at Road America one year, I actually bought my first ever like road race bike from Garrett. RS 125, one of his older RS 125s at Road America, and I was sitting in the stands watching, you know, him and Jake Lewis duke it out for the win, and you know, I'm like, dang, I really want to do that. I really want to be there, and now, you know, we're friends and live by each other, so it's kind of interesting how it all worked out.
Yeah.
But
you
yeah,
know, let's talk about that. So you are from White Bear Lake, Minnesota, is that right?
Yep.
Okay, so originally from Minnesota, and Garrett's always been Houston. It's the Woodlands, and you guys moved down there. And talk about the fact that you moved down there, and it's like you actually lived. Did you know when you were moving there that you were actually going to be moving near Garrett Gerloff?
Yeah, I mean, kind of, but really the whole reason why we ended up moving down there was because my mom had gone and visited my dad's aunt, and she liked the area and everything. And then, you know, we had kind of, I was friends with Garrett at the time, but not really like we are now, just because, you know, whatever, I would see him at the races or whatever. And, you know, it wasn't really like it is now. And so, yeah, we moved down there, and then I started training with him and riding with him more and more and becoming better and better friends. So it's just kind of a weird coincidence that we ended up literally like 5 minutes down the road. And Jay Newton also lives down that way. He's a Junior Cup rider, so he comes out and rides with us and stuff too. So, but yeah, just kind of randomly, it all ended up working out, and now it's working out really good. I mean, it's awesome to have a training partner to, you know, at that level. I think we're both super committed and both have the same goals and ambitions within the sport. So having somebody that, you know, is on the same page, I think really helps with progression and trying to get better and you know, just trying to push each other every day, you know, on the go-kart track, on the motocross bikes, on the road bikes. So it's been really fun, a lot of fun. And obviously it's, you know, our hard work is showing, it's paying off. So
it really is.
This season. So
now obviously this season, I mean, it's been you and Rocco Landers, and all the races have been close, and you guys have, it's just really been you two. I mean, he's obviously a very young kid, and he's kind of already got a big following and a lot of hype and stuff. What's it like racing with him? I mean, do you see anything special there, or?
Yeah, it's weird. It's kind of weird because I think it was last year I did all the AFM rounds out in California on R6 and R1 with a team that I had rode for a lot when I was younger, and they had called me up and got me back on a road race bike, and I was doing, you know, well out there, and that's when I actually met Rocco, and you know, we kind of were you know, kind of friends or whatever, and you know, I would talk to him at the track and stuff just because we were there hanging out and whatever. So now it's kind of weird because, you know, it was like that, and then all of a sudden now, you know, after the first round, it's like kind of, you know, we're kind of rivals or whatever. But you know, I'm a pretty easygoing guy. Like it doesn't really bother me or affect me at all. I could tell it was kind of weird after I won, you know, Road America. I won 2 races there, and I could tell it was like kind of weird or whatever. But you know, it's not weird for me. I'm like, hey, you know, we're rivals on the track, but in the pits, you know, I'm fine with being friends with everybody. You know. And at the end of the day, I'm out there to go as fast as I possibly can. He's out there to go as fast as he possibly can. So I mean, if I get second and I do as well as I can, then hey, it is what it is. And if I win, then awesome. But I'm just out there pushing as hard as I can, every race and every session, and wherever I end up. And that's something that really mentally I think has changed with me from the past to now. I've been very like I'm out there to give 110% each and every time I'm out on track. And if I get second, it is what it is. Like, I gave it everything I had. I'll go back to the drawing board and go train harder and come back and go faster. But and if I go all out and win, then that's an awesome bonus. And it's just really nice to have a good season and lots of momentum rolling for how many years I was training for nothing, people would say. I mean, I was basically for 3 years I was going to the go-kart track with Garrett. I was riding motocross. I was doing all this stuff in the background, but I didn't have a team. I wasn't racing. So it's like I had no way of, I was just training. I had no way of showing people what I was doing and the progress that I've been making and stuff. And so it's really nice to have like a little bit of a payoff for that, you know?
And this class has got to be perfect for you at this time. And it's also probably good that he's in the class, so when you win, people know you've beat somebody. You know what I mean? It's not like you're just beating somebody that they've never heard of or they don't know who he is.
No, the timing's really good. I mean, I know there's a lot of eyes on Rocco, and that just just helps the overall situation of being in the class and stuff. And it's a really good class, really competitive class. The Yamaha MT-07, is working really good, and I'm really happy with we keep making progress every single weekend, just getting the bike better and better and better, and more, my bike, if you want to call it that, what's working for me. And yeah, I mean, I would love to be on a 600, but 1833 CJ Knows has been helping me out big time. He's a lawyer out of Florida, and we kind of put our heads together, and with our funding, we knew we wanted to be on the best bike we could in whatever class we were in, because if you're not on the best bike, it's like kind of the struggle bus all year, and you're trying to do a lot with a little, and we knew starting in the twins class, we knew we would have the funding to be on a good bike right away and have it be somewhat well set up. Roaring Toys, the owner, Bob Fisher, he had been racing the class for I think a year before, maybe two. But
is this the bike that he raced?
It's basically at one point at Laguna Seca, it was the exact same thing. They were both the same, and so his setup is kind of what we started with, and now we've been fine tuning and making it more and more my own. But pretty much a really similar setup to the bike, and so yeah. I mean, basically the reason why we ended up in the Twins Cup is because we thought that we would have the funding to really give it a good go, and in the 600 class, motors are expensive,
right.
Everything's a little bit more expensive. I would love to be on a 600. I feel way more comfortable on a 600 than I do.
That's for people that may not know. I mean, you actually raced in a year of AMA Pro Racing. You raced in the beginning of MotoAmerica on a 600. You've got a lot of laps on a 600, so super sport bike. So I wanted to ask you about this bike. It's like it clicked for you, but you think now with all the training you've done and everything, all the racecraft that you've developed, you could probably get on 600 and do well too, right?
Yeah. I'd love to be on a well set up 600 and get out there with Richie Escalante and them guys and mix it up. Like I think if I had a really good bike, it would be awesome to maybe make that jump next year or something like that. But yeah, I mean, the Twin is kind of a weird bike as far as like power delivery, and these motorcycles aren't really race bikes. I mean, they're made to ride on the street and stuff like that. So the chassis has a lot of flex, especially the Yamaha. So the thing's like a noodle out there. It's just getting worked, and it's kind of bucking around and stuff like that. To where when you're on a well set up R6 or something, it's a lot more planted and just has a better feeling overall because it's more so meant to be a race bike. But we've been finding more and more on how to kind of make the MT feel more like an R6 or something like that. So, we've been making steps in the right direction, and overall just trying to go faster and faster every weekend, and it's been working. So, But yeah, like I said, I would love to be in the super sport class, or maybe even stock 1000 if it's a little bit more feasible money wise, maybe just because there's less races and stuff like that. But definitely want to try and make a jump at some point, But I'm happy with the class that I'm in and how the season's going, and I'm honestly just blessed to even be on the grid, and have a ride. So I got to give a huge thank you to 1833 CJ Knows. It's an accident and injury lawyer out of Florida. So without him, I wouldn't even be out here, wouldn't even have a chance to be on the grid, and definitely wouldn't have a chance to be leading the championship right now. So
after that Laguna win, talk a little bit about the fact that you broke your leg.
Yeah.
It wasn't, for starters, I can't imagine breaking a femur.
Yeah.
It is
well,
the biggest
the
bone in
irony
your body.
too is that Garrett broke his femur. So,
Right.
at Daytona, you remember that.
Right.
It's so
weird.
odd that you did too.
The same one and everything.
Yeah.
It was a really similar break. I was out in AFM the weekend after California, Laguna Seca. I won. And then the next weekend was an AFM round at Thunder Hill. And really weird situation. It was a Sunday morning, so I had already ridden the bike for 2 days. First session in the morning, I was in fourth, I believe, and Andrew Lee, DeBeese, and then I think it was Wyatt Ferris, and I was chasing him down and trying to stay with him. And all of a sudden, on the fourth lap, my brakes completely went out. I had no brakes, and coming into turn one at Thunder Hill with no brakes, I was on the rear brake and trying to slow down, and there was a wall coming up, and basically had to bail off the bike. I don't know how fast I was going, but as soon as I hit the ground, I was in like a wash machine, just
Wow.
and I was like backed in the head, like flipping backwards, and
Wow.
I ended up in a dirt bank, like upside down, like this. And at first, I sat up, and I'm like, I'm fine. Like how did I just survive that? And then I sat myself up and like spun my legs around to like face the track, and my leg just was like,
Oh, wow.
and I'm like, yeah, I broke my leg. And
Wow.
I was so like, just growing up, like I never went to the hospital or anything. Like I always just tried to tough it out. And the ambulance lady came up to me, or whatever, the medic, and she's like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I just got the wind knocked out of me, and I'm fine or whatever. And then I'm like sitting there, and the pain's just like, I can like feel my leg just thumping and like going up and up and up and up. And finally I'm just like, I broke my femur. And she's like, well, I'm glad you told me, because I guess there's like a major artery.
Yeah, the femoral artery.
Yeah, right
Yeah.
in your leg. And
Yes.
she's like, if that's punctured or whatever, you're like literally bleeding out right now. And
Yeah,
I'm
it's
like,
bad.
Let's take a look at that.
I'm like, okay, yeah, we should probably take a look at that then, because it's definitely broken. And I got a helicopter ride. That was the first helicopter ride I ever got, and it was a really bad deal. But yeah, the irony is I trained with Garrett Gerloff, and he had the exact same break. We both now have a rod in our right femur, and honestly, having him there was like, because he was out in California because he was staying there because Sonoma was the next weekend. So I ended up missing Sonoma and whatever, but Garrett was there. So he actually drove over and was hanging out with me and stuff. And he had been through what I was going through before. And I was in a ton of pain after surgery, and my leg was black and blue and like the size of an elephant, like my whole leg, and couldn't walk, or like I walked right after surgery, but it was bad. Like couldn't bend it or anything. And so having him there and like giving me advice on like how to get back to 100%, and like, I'm like, I still to this day, I call him like, dude, is this like normal? Like, like for a while, it didn't even feel like my own leg.
Really?
Like running or walking. Like I still have trouble running. Like, and it took me forever to get the bending back on the bicycle. I would have to sit there and in my living room on the trainer, just back and forth, because I couldn't do a full rotation.
Oh, wow.
So it took a couple weeks to get the full rotation, and then I was just pounding, on my bicycle to try and get back for Barber.
Is your leg, is it the same length as the other one? I mean, it sounds like a dumb question.
Yeah,
but
I think they say it does get a little bit shorter.
Yeah,
with
I've
the
heard
rod.
that.
I don't really know, but
well, Garrett, when he did that at Daytona, I remember that he was obviously worked with Graves Yamaha at the time, so they were extremely cautious with him.
Yep.
They were like very young, I think he was only
16.
Yeah, he had just
turned pro, I think.
year before. It was actually the year before. Yeah, he hadn't turned 17 because that was in August, and it was at Daytona at the start of the year. And I remember distinctly that they said we got to take our time with him, and Tommy Hayden took over for him.
Yep.
But I remember Garrett. We didn't see him for a long time, and then he came back and he seemed okay. I saw you were like getting on a bike. It seemed like a week later.
Yeah, Garrett, because I didn't have a supermoto at the time, and so 3 weeks after surgery, I got back home and I just pounded out on my bicycle. I was in a ton of pain, but I was just kind of pounding through it because I knew like I had a big opportunity and I did really well at Laguna, and I didn't want that to be like, one thing, like for the year. So I really wanted to get back for the last race at Barber, and so I was trying really hard. But anyways, Garrett let me ride his supermoto 3 weeks after surgery, and it was kind of help. I wasn't like pushing or anything. I didn't really want to crash again, but the doctor told me, he's like, hey, you're not going to hurt this.
Oh, really?
He's like, you can do whatever you want. And I'm like, okay, well, you just told the wrong person that.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's good instructions.
So I just went right to it right away and pounded out on the bicycle and got the range of motion was the biggest thing. And then once I couldn't ride a road race bike, but the supermoto is like, a higher seat to foot peg.
Right.
So it doesn't bend as much. So yeah, Garrett let me ride a supermoto, and I would go out there and because it's extremely painful, like just stretching it back and forth because everything's so tight from them pounding the rod in and everything. So yeah, if you ever watch a video on that, just don't watch a video on that because it's not a pretty sight. But anyways, yeah, I mean the bending was the biggest thing. But when I was riding, you don't really feel it as much because you're like focused on like, hitting your apexes and getting on the throttle and whatever else. So I was kind of using the supermoto to like, get the bending back, and grinded it out and got back for Barber, and it wasn't ready. I mean, as much as I wanted it to be ready, it just wasn't 100%, and I couldn't give 100% on the bike. I still was like up there in the race, but then the motor blew up, and it wasn't a very good weekend. So the doc was helping me out, and I was getting really sick and stuff off of the medicine and stuff.
You were,
so,
because you were on medication.
It was bad. It was not a good deal. So.
Well, so what I was wondering, when you have these injuries, I mean, let's compare it to the situation with Marc Marquez. I mean, the guy was going to come back after his humerus, which is almost like the femur in your arm. It's a big bone. Yeah. And he's like, he's going to come back.
Fingers of your feet.
But what I'm getting at is, you're motivated to do this, and you said the doctor said you can do it. It's not going to hurt you. But if you push too much, I mean, it's not good for you, right? So
yeah.
Do you think there was a risk there that you maybe were trying to come back too soon?
Yeah, possibly, but I mean the biggest risk that you have when you get the rod put in is one, bending the rod, which is really hard to do, or breaking the knuckle off of the thing, which me and Garrett are both at risk at. But he basically said that's at any time.
Wow.
So the biggest risk is like there no matter what, no matter how.
I had no idea.
When in the healing, because. Now that the rod's in there, this part's super strong, but you got the knuckle or whatever that goes into your hip.
That's your hip socket.
And that'll break, because that's now the weak point or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's, I mean, I was just really trying, and I knew like even if I crashed or whatever, I would have a lot of time, like the whole off season to like recover. So I just really didn't want, like me to be like a one ride deal. I won, and
Sure, it wasn't a fluke.
Yeah, I really wanted to come back and try, and I've been working hard to get back. So it's like if I don't try, it's like I just worked super hard for nothing, So that was just kind of a goal that I tried to put in my head. It didn't really work out, but yeah, now it's getting better and better, and now we're here and got 3 wins in the championship, and I'm feeling really good on my 1833 CJ Nose Roaring Toys MT-07. So
longest team name ever.
Yeah, I'm pumped to be back.
He's got it down there. Kaleb, last year at Laguna Seca, you won that race. You had the injury. You tried to make it happen again at Barber. You had the injury still, obviously, but you also had some bike problems. So going into this year, you got MotoAmerica, you got 2 rounds at tracks that are relatively close to where you grew up. which there's some motivation there, and you're not sure, okay, do I still have it? Am I going to be able to do this? Talk about those 2 rounds and how relieved it was for you to win those races and do what you did.
Yeah, no, it was just really good to get back racing. It was a long off season, training and working hard with Garrett, and we put in a lot of laps at the go-kart track, and I think it was just a really good relief. Just because I had overcome the injury and stuff like that, and still I think it was just I think it was at Road Atlanta was like a year since I had broken my leg. Having a couple wins and getting my 3rd win at Road Atlanta and being a year off a broken leg, I mean, it felt really good, and it was a huge relief. Just, I still got it. Everything's good, and the bike's good. And I got a new crew chief this year, Larry. He's been really helping me and getting the bike set up, and he knows his stuff. So that's been really nice, and having him and, having a really good team around you is a huge thing too. With being comfortable and just working through things if you have a good team and everything. And I like the people that I'm working with this year. Even Garrett just called me like a couple hours ago or whatever. And he saw that we were a little off in practice. I had a tire issue and it chewed up real bad. And I was like 7th, and he's calling me. He's like,
we can't do 7th.
Yeah, he's like, what are you doing, dude? Like, I leave for 1 second and you're back in 7th.
Did you tell him, well, you're 12?
Yeah, okay. That was funny. That was it was kind of funny though, because it was kind of more me. I'm like, dude, I know I can't be in 7th. Like, dude, that sucked. Like, I know that was a bad look. And he's like, that I've been in 7th, right? He's like, don't be taking shots at 7th right now or whatever,
He would be happy with 7th.
He made a joke out of it or whatever. He's like, hey, that's where I've been running, so just chill out with the, being far back or whatever. But yeah, no, it's definitely good to have a friend that's, and we got to go over to Europe in the off season. And train with him and his trainer. He trains with Aleix Santacreu, who is the trainer for Petronas. So they've got a really good, solid group over there that he's training and working with. And so I got to go over there and kind of see what they do for training and kind of the structure of the program. And now I've kind of brought that back over to here and trying to implement, what they're doing over here. Like, it's kind of crazy. You would show up at like a random flat track on a Thursday, and Tito Rabat's out there, Chaz Davis, like some bad dudes, and like a bunch of Moto2 and Moto3 dudes, and all the Petronas guys are always there because they work with Aleix. And I didn't get to see Quattraro or those guys when I was there, but they show up, and Marquez. And
that one track looks really cool.
Yeah, so the flat track we went to, I forgot the name of it. They actually have like a full-on GP circuit too, but it's like a flat track through the trees.
Mm-hmm. Wow, I think that's one I've seen.
It's like Alcaraz or something like that, I think. But everybody goes there, and like Marquez and them go there, and it was really cool to see. And I got to ride motocross with those guys out there, and I grew up racing motocross, so I actually in 2015 when I stopped doing MotoAmerica, I went to Loretta Lynn's for 2 years and did. I got a deal with Kawasaki, so I went and did some motocross stuff. And
your brother Mason, didn't he do some motocross too?
Yeah, we all grew up racing motocross, and so I went back into it, got my pro license, and did a couple outdoor rounds, and then got the call to come back to MotoAmerica. So that was really nice, and then me and Garrett went and won, and so it's been.
So when you motocross with those guys, do you pretty much kick their ass?
I wouldn't go that far. A lot.
I mean, you hold your own.
Yeah, Garrett's good. Garrett's pretty good on a motorbike.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would like to say I have a little edge on him on the motocross track, which is good because I mean, especially like rough tracks, he's pretty good on like the smooth, fast stuff, and more like a road race style. But I got a little bit of an edge on him on the road race or on the rough motocross styled tracks. So I think it's good because then we're always pushing, and he pushes me at the go-kart track. I help him to push the envelope at the motocross track. He's a really strong cyclist, and so it's just overall I think it's just worked out awesome. And I think it helped him too, just because he didn't really, I mean, he was just by himself a lot.
Yeah.
So, and when you're by yourself, it's like you're just kind of more so going through the motions a little bit, or at least when I am. I don't know if it's the same thing with him, but like you're just kind of going through the motions. It's not very fun. Like,
Right.
you know, at the motocross track, you just put in laps by yourself.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit, you know, it just makes it more exciting, more
Yeah,
fun.
you need the competition.
Yeah,
is what it
and
is.
it puts that little, you know, little edge and a motivation, like to push that little bit more, you know, kind of more like a race.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been awesome. Been really good to have him in my back pocket, and yeah, it's just funny because he's over there doing his thing, doing the World Superbike
This
stuff.
weekend,
And,
even.
yeah, and he was just at dinner with his team when he called me, and he's like, "What are you doing?" You know, it's like I gotta go back to dinner, but you better be up there in the next session or whatever, you know. So
I know we're running out of time, but I want to ask you one other question. So you talked about being on the 600 and liking, kind of wanting to get back on the 600 again, and you're still young. Paul and I were talking to Michael Martin earlier today, also a Texan, who said he started racing when he was 26. So
yeah,
my question to you is, you know, now that you've got this momentum going and you're winning races, what's your goal? What are you thinking you'd like to do or could do?
Yeah, you know, if it was if I had unlimited support and everything, I mean, right now I'm extremely focused on the championship that I'm in, and I really, really would like to win a championship. So that's kind of, you know, I'm pushing to be on the box every weekend as far as this year, and hopefully, you know, be up there and win more races. And that's my goal for this year. But you're asking like in the future, I would assume.
What you're thinking?
I would love to get over to Europe, and Garrett's over there right now, and
Right.
it would make it easier for sure to go while he's over there. So you know, there's talk about maybe next year trying to figure something out over there, but obviously we need some support, and I think I could do really well over there, and you know, I would love an opportunity to go over there before I get, you know, older and older and older. So but yeah, I don't really know what that looks like. Maybe try and get into the World Super Sport 600, or maybe even the 300 class, or CEV, you know, Moto 3. I think being on a smaller bike right now is probably better, just because I think I could just be a little bit more confident and comfortable right off the bat. But as far as over here, I'd really like to get into the 600 class. You know, and mix it up with Escalante and those guys, and SDK and all those dudes pushing the envelope. And, you know, overall, I just want to keep chasing lap records and keep going fast and keep winning races. And hopefully that leads to championships. So that's kind of my mindset and focus. And I want to bring that to wherever I go. So.
That's
Sounds like a
great.
plan.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Well, we wish you luck with that. And I mean, it's good to have somebody over there, and you're doing great in MotoAmerica. So, you know, keep winning and keep taking it to those guys in that class.
Yeah.
Thanks for being on. I also want to thank the fans, and please subscribe to MotoAmerica Live Plus, our subscription streaming service and video on demand service. And for race tickets, go to MotoAmerica.com, and you can also sign up for MotoAmerica Live Plus there too. Paul, thanks for having being our host on this as communications manager for MotoAmerica. Kaleb, good luck this weekend, and thanks everybody.